Welcome to the new key lessons of the Infinite Way. I'm really happy that you join in this new adventure. And so the key lessons, we have of course heard them, we have of course seen them. Yeah, we have seen so much of Joel, say in the past tape groups and all that, and everything that's available. But here we are, the key lessons. So it's certainly not about trying to understand them now or trying to work it out in some kind of way. No. So if it is one thing, it is like this is going to be revealed to you in a way that is so lovely that you will never forget where it came from. So it's not as much the lessons in themselves as the source where they come from. And that's, yes, of course. You will tell me, yes, of course, which is wonderful. It's really wonderful. So it's a great delight to connect here with you all and to see that, here is light, here is love that is communicating, and that is communicating in you. That's why you're here. And that recognition can expand and expand and expand, and it is new all the time. And so I had to think just before we started of this came to me, is like once you are reborn in the spirit, you become like the wind, like, because you're not deciding what and how and when, but it's given to you. It's like you don't know. You don't know where the wind is coming from. You don't know which direction it goes, but you know it's there. It's like that. So today I experienced a lot of wind here when I walked outside, and I had like, oh yeah, it's just like me in that sense. It's like I don't know where it comes from. There it is, and here I am, and this is what I do. This is what comes to me. So in this series, this comes to me the way it came to me. Like there's 10 lessons that we are going to pay attention to, one at a time, and that's wonderful. So when you in fact receive one lesson completely, you've learned them all, because there's no many lessons to learn or anything. It's like no. And one lesson learned completely will open your eyes and your heart and the recognition of your connection with your true self. So that has its own language, that has its own inspiration. And so I'm following the guidance that is given me in using exactly every aspect of it. And you know this by now, if you watch the videos or any other tape group or any other class, you see that at work. And that is, to me, totally beautiful to see that unfold in all its directions and in no directions, but always, say, coming from the same place. That doesn't change at all. It's like it's an absolute, like, bottomless well where that is just available. It's coming to you just by your willingness to be open and by your recognition of your true self. Now, I've said it now twice, is what I recognize. So that's wonderful. So today, the title or the lesson is like God is indwelling. Now that's an interesting idea. God is an indwelling. And so it is actually you are in God. And we say like, God is in me. Yeah, well, it's actually you are in God, because you're the Son. You're not the Father itself. It's like you're the Son. And there's no difference between the Father and the Son. Both are indistinguishable, like you're inseparable from your Father, but still you're in your Father. And So anyway, that's not so much to have a conflict about. Like the embrace is the same, the love is the same, the source is the same, and you are like an extension of that source, just like the rays of the sun. You are one of the rays of the sun. And that's great. That's lovely to recognize it, to celebrate that. And so in our key lessons, we do it a little different. I came up with an almost like a syllabus or a reader or a study guide, as I called it. It's like a study guide. Not that you need to do that much study. It's more like, no, you will receive sufficient instruction from Joel in his talks. But it is more like now everything falls into place a little bit. If you want to trace back to what I've said or what is being shared, you can find the link, for instance, to the video. You can find the text that I use. And we will use that today. I won't say I will use it every time, but today I will use this study guide as instead of the sheets that I normally present during the meeting. So that's one thing that is different. So the other thing is I have to trust what comes to me. And since we're talking about the indwelling God, the fact that you are in God is something that brings up a fundamental question, and that is, who am I? And this fundamental question, who am I, doesn't have a conceptual answer. So what I'm going to share as a meditation, as a video meditation, you don't necessarily have to watch the waves in the back like the video. It is just about, in fact, opening up or receiving what is given, and that is a confession of your perfection, and that is an experience. So that's not understandable. That's direct from Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Like it's originating from the New Testament of A Course in Miracles. And so I use it very specifically. I'm not going to use always A Course in Miracles. This just came to me to share with you. That's why I'm using it. And yeah, so open up for an experience, for the answer on the question, who am I? So let's start with that and be still with that and contemplate that. Contemplating is also like allowing it to affect you on such a deep level that it actually speaks for itself and brings you to the recognition. I am God's Son, complete and healed and whole, shining in the reflection of His love. In me is His creation sanctified and guaranteed eternal life. In me is love perfected, fear impossible, and joy established without opposite. I am the holy home of God Himself. I am the heaven where His love resides. I am His holy sinlessness itself, for in my purity abides His own. Thank you so much for being still with me. That's such a great start today for for where we're in a beginner's class, basically. Like we're starting all over. First lesson of the infinite way. Like where did we? Yeah, here we start. Here we start. God is indwelling. It's not some deity somewhere up there, some man with a big beard or something sitting on a throne, judging the world or taking people out to. No, not at all. So there's a whole new way of, say, experiencing this or coming to the truth of yourself. And with how we do that today, we start basically with one book that Joel wrote is The Art of Spiritual Healing. And going into that a little bit, I use it for a reality check. And this is not a judgment about yourself. This is not like I do it wrong or anything. No. So this is about, okay, so where, what is Joel asking actually? He's asking how your practice is. So are you doing this? Are you doing that? Now let's just take a look. Like I said, it's not as a self-judgment or a self-evaluation. It is just, oh yeah, that's so many aspects are involved in this waking up, in this path that I'm on. So I might as well just get started to see that there's a real necessity for me to actually come in touch with the lessons of the infinite way, to help me to see how this actually works altogether. Not that I have to make it work, not that I have to do it, but I have to allow something. I have to, let myself be undone. Like this all leads, in fact, to a rebirth and not like a better version of yourself. Like no, this is, you come into the experience of consciousness itself. There's no doing on your part in that sense. It's the undoing of you. So anyway, we're going to go through the reality check from The Art of Spiritual Healing. And so this is in general like an incredible healing opportunity. All the lessons that we're going to take a look at. It's like, don't underestimate the healing capacity of this way you enter into, because it might stir things up in you. It might stimulate you to actually do it different this time, because of the instructions that Joel is giving, as speaking from his experience of like 30 years of doing this, and connected with me. I do I do it about 30 years too. Can you imagine? I had my first awakening experience when I was 32 something, and I seem to be a little bit older now. Anyway, it is like, I'm speaking from experience. I'm using Joel, and I use A Course in Miracles. I use the Bible, of course, and Jesus Christ of Nazareth, and Sri Aurobindo when I need him with his poetry and the Mother, and all this just coming from a recognition that there's one mind, and that this one Christ mind is speaking to us. And to get in touch with that Christ mind, it is like, oh, here are some things that you can do that really help you to come to it. So come to the recognition that there's only one mind, that they're not separate objects, that they're not other consciousnesses, or that there's nobody out there having an effect on you. But seeing this in a whole new light is really where the spiritual path is for. So here's the checklist. Let's go right into it. It was kind of fun to recognize that too. So here's so here's the reader, by the way. I'll introduce you to the reader. If you haven't received it, just write an email or something, because I attached it and I did all kinds of things with it. You can find it on the website, but here it is. So here's the key lessons. And this is the reality check. The reality check. In The Art of Spiritual Healing, Joel shares questions almost like a reality check. So are we dwelling in the secret place of the Most High? Do we live and move and have our being in God consciousness? Do we live and move and have our being in a complete and utter reliance on the presence and power of God? Do we live and move and have our consciousness in an attitude of love, of giving and sharing? Do we live as if we really believed that the place whereon we stand is holy ground? That right here and right now, the presence and power of God envelops me and mine? And so Joel goes on, like there's 4 more questions. It just doesn't stop here. Do we live from early morning till late at night in the conviction that God is directing our path? Do we live and move and have our being in the attitude of listening for God's direction, for God's guidance and protection? Are we living and moving and having our being in the realization that underneath are the everlasting arms? If we are the elect, the household of God. We are of that heritage whose gift is righteous and peace on earth. Now, like I read this now quickly, but as I tell you, it's in the reader, so you can read it again. Like all these questions is more like, well, there's work to do for sure. Yeah, there's work to do. And I'm not consciously, constantly aware of the fact that God is guiding my path and is my guiding light. Like, because I'm concerned, because I don't know how to respond to all situations. I don't know how to respond to any of it. I don't know this, I don't know that. It's like all these questions, all these concerns are things that are coming up during my day. I'm not sure if I continuously let God be my guide. So in other words, where I'm living in is in construct in which I place myself constantly, where I am faced with the impossibilities of this place, with mesmerism, as Joel calls it. It's like mesmerism, it's an illusion. So I keep, reinforcing that. I keep bringing that to life in my experience constantly when I'm not aware that God is my guide, that God is literally guiding me in every single step along the way. The only difference it is like there's an adjustment in time and in space also, but it's like there's an adjustment in time taking place because the guidance that you are looking for, you might not receive in the moment that you think that you need it. No, it's like you come into a whole different pace with Spirit, like you come into a whole different pace when you start to rely on the light and love of God to guide you. That is totally different. Basically, you have to slow down. That's where it starts with. You have to slow down sufficiently, taking time to, in fact, release your ideas about what you think your problem is, what you think the solution to it will be. And this goes much further than that, even. So it's like, how would you know? Just give an example. So in a moment you feel uncomfortable, you don't exactly know what's going on. But the one thing that you do know is that you want to get rid of that feeling. Now, you might have a whole strategy of how to get rid of that feeling by distracting yourself, for instance. But that's not here in the path what is going on. So in other words, you're going to have some real deep feelings. You're going to have some real deep experiences just staying in the trouble that you're experiencing, asking for help, but staying in it, not trying to solve it your own way, because then you would repeat the same cycle. No, this is like, now I trust the everlasting arms that are underneath. And that's what we just said too in the reality check. It's like the everlasting arms underneath. I can trust that. That means if I'm full of anxiety, full of fear, full of pain, full of sadness, depression, or whatever the feeling is, if I allow myself to just stand still in that, to feel it completely, to let it completely be, then I will say, at the end of all of that, then I will experience the everlasting arms underneath. Speaking from experience, like this was the start of my awakening experience, diving so deeply into fear that I had like, okay, come fear, come and get me. I don't really care what happens after. I just cannot live with fear like this any longer. So come and take me. So that was literally like sinking deeply into a black hole for a moment, and seeing that something else is occurring, the total opposite of what I expected. I was lifted out of it. I felt the everlasting arms, and it showed me around. It's like it showed me the perfect synchronicity of the whole universe. I heard it like tick like a clock, like so perfectly synchronized that it was of a divine order that could never be, had nothing to do with Earth whatsoever. So this is a start of an experience, like this is a start of here it is, boom. But there are everlasting arms underneath, like the thing that seems to be the most painful, the thing that seems to be the most fearful, is exactly the spot where you can experience the everlasting arms if you allow yourself to sink deeply into it, instead of distracting yourself or numbing yourself with any kind of tactic that you have learned in your humanhood to distract yourself from deep feelings and deep turmoil and anxiety and all the good stuff that comes with that. So that's important to know. We have to use this very constructively here. I know that. So here we go. The next part, we did a reality check. Now, if you're honest in looking at that list, it's like, no, I forget about that. No, I'm not scoring 100% here. I'm not scoring straight A's on this one. No. So Joel, in our talk, will talk about how you start your day. It's like how important it is. Like to come to the God experience before you do anything. To come into a peaceful mode of being. Like literally allowing your mind to open before you do anything is a requirement for you to be on a spiritual path. Like that is the practice that we're going to do all the time. Every day. There's no exceptions. Like, no, you don't want to skip a day because then the whole day seems to be completely chaotic. No, you start your day right. And Joel says, well, just say, get up an hour early. You get 24 hours in your day. There's time to meditate for everyone, every day. Like you don't work 24 hours a day. You don't know. So get up earlier and first meditate, or first be still. Read some passages and repeat the passages. Take time to deeply connect with your withinness. Open your consciousness for a God experience. So that only to experience the connection. It's like this is your daily protection. Not that you need to be protected against anything except your own mind that continuously distracts you with great ideas and wonderful solutions to problems that don't exist. So here we are going into this practice. Now Joel is really going for it in this talk about the practice, the starting of the day. And that's in the first half hour where we're going to listen to. So the second part of the video, of the tape, is the kingdom of heaven and earth. And so that's wonderful in connection with this too. But that's the part that we're not going to listen to today. So by the way, here's God is indwelling. Joel refers to Psalm 91, and here's one, say, excerpt of that. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. See, all this is all support. You can't believe it. It's so beautiful how things are coming to us. Now this was specifically included today too. Like, what am I? No, here's what I am. This is an contemplation. This is an invitation to an experience. Absolutely. So it's like I want to bring in the brightest material I can find that comes to me to share, and yeah. So this is what is given here too. God is my dwelling place, and regarding the realization aspect, Joel says just voicing words isn't going to do it. The realization of the words that we read in the Bible, in Scripture, in the books of Joel, for instance, when they come to an experience of light and joy, is where the words come to life in you. That's an awakening consciousness. Regarding the realization aspect, we share 3 expressions directly from script. Well, here's the first one. It is necessary that I consciously feel my contact with my source. We call it God, the spirit within. I must first feel that. I just can't talk about it and say it and declare it and affirm it first. I have to feel and affirm it. I have to feel it first. Otherwise, Joel says, like, who do you think is talking? Well, otherwise it would be that Joel Goldsmith is talking, or that Wim is talking. Like, no, you recognize the frequency behind the words. You could say the recognition that one is receiving for himself in order to express the light and to extend the light, the love that is embedded in what is being shared. Like a recognition of the source in direct experience. And that's why we meditate at the beginning, and I prepare myself for it, and we listen to music before the meeting starts, just all to align, to let ourselves be aligned, to open our consciousness for a different experience than your human experience, but to see that, that's so great to be in this light and to have a recognition of the peace within me, and then share what's coming up, literally like adding my joy to it, that I experience in the moment that it comes to me and that it's given to share. It's like unwrapping presents, and it's just like, it's almost like Christmas. I said this many times, but it's like Christmas, and it is like Christmas. Now here Joel says, before you say anything, before you share, or before you know, in fact you can relate this to your daily life too. It's like, before you make a decision, just wait, because you don't know what's the best for you. You don't know what to decide. No, just first connect within. Because the way that you see the situation is not the reality of the situation. It's like you miss it. You miss it, what is actually going on, because it is not what you think it is. So that comes back to you. So first, ask for help. You don't know how to respond to any of the situations. Ask for help. And then wait for the answer to come to you. And this is the practice that we do, that Joel does too, in fact, coming to your own experience of connectedness as the healing practice of a treatment, for instance, or any response. Now, that relationship isn't really true until the moment of contact. Until that moment of contact, we're just a room full of separate human beings, each with our own interests, each with our own purposes, each with our own needs, and we may not be fulfilling each other's needs at all. So that relationship isn't true until the moment of contact, and that contact is within you. It's like if you allow this, in fact, to come to you, if you allow yourself to come into an experience of oneness, of your connectedness with your brother, that is like, forget about what you see or what you think about so-called others. No, this is singular. This is you, subjective. This has to do with you. That's where it starts. That's where it takes place. You are literally the portal through which this can occur. You are literally inviting God to come into your consciousness by letting it be open. And this light is in fact your recognition that we're all one. But I can say we're all one, but that doesn't mean anything, as Joel says here too. It's like, that doesn't mean anything. Now, if that isn't an experience, then you really think that somebody else is telling you that, or that I'm a stranger to you, or who knows what, like whatever the dynamics are here. But here, so the essence of this, really what we're talking about is then, which is the key lesson, God is indwelling. It's happening within you. You are one with God. In opening your consciousness, you invite an experience of oneness in. Now that doesn't happen just like that for most of us. Some of us, yes. It's like that doesn't necessarily happen just like that. So, not that it takes a lot of effort. No, it is a recognition. It doesn't take effort at all. But there can be some debris on top of your consciousness, like there can be some foggy substance, like foggy ideas that are related to it. I'm not worthy, this is not the time for that, this is like, maybe I'll try tomorrow. Any excuse really, in fact, of being open to accept it now, is what keeps you from having that experience. So to have an open mind, to have an open consciousness in order to receive this is in fact the easiest. You let go of everything else. But that's very simple, and that's still a training. God is your household. God is your dwelling place. So you don't want a house. You don't want a God to get you a house. Like, you're not going to use God as your provider, as the Amazon, the heavenly Amazon or something. It's like, no. No, it is the opposite way. Like I said, you have to open your consciousness, and God knows his way to you. Don't worry. It's like you're not going to miss out on anything. No, God is an all-loving God forever and ever. You're not going to change that. And the only place you should want to live is in God. Live and move and have our being in God, and stop thinking about places and houses and cities and locations, and center on one thing. God is my dwelling place, and that's my only need then. My only need then is not a dwelling place, but God. Now, and here's some other expressions. In the same way, God does not provide us with bomb-proof shelter. God does not provide us with safety and security, and praying to God for those things is a complete waste of time. God itself is our high tower. God itself is our fortress. Now here, this is in fact a huge expression, because this relates to everything, and this is where I say we'll expand on a little bit more before we start to listen to Joel. But see here, the essence of this is really helpful. It's like recognizing that there is not a world outside of you. It's recognizing that it starts here. Makes it also recognizing that your consciousness that you're not this. And these are huge steps, what we're talking about. What needs protection? What needs protection in this world? Well, everything seems to need protection in this world. But this world, where is it taking place? Well, it's originating here. And that means, like, it starts with me. There's nothing outside myself. So I'm literally making that world real for myself, and then protect myself against the enemy that I put out there. That doesn't make sense, does it? So that asks for a new vision. Like, no, there's nothing out there. There's only one consciousness. We just said to each other, it's like there's only one mind, and it's mine. Like, I'm completely in that. That is my mind. There's only one mind. We communicate directly. We don't communicate like this. There's not two of us. No, there's one of us. Now, to whom should I protect myself? Or to what, if there's nothing outside of me? What contagion, what threat, what thing can come to me if I'm consciousness? See how deep that is what I say. Is like, that's huge. This is the resurrection and the life speaking to you directly, and in the extension of the light that it is. It is not a body. It is a light. It is your saving grace. Your saving grace is not material. Your spirit, your Holy Spirit, is not material. You, in your true being, as the I am, are not material. You, in your humanness, think. Imagine yourself vulnerable. Imagine yourself vulnerable to all kinds of exterior impulses, things, confusing you, conflicting you, scaring you, threatening you. It's like, no. So the adjustment, like I talked about that, there's an adjustment going on in time. Time and place are readjusted here. It's taking place right here. In this moment that we come together, like in this moment of recognition of your true, like God indwelling in God, I'm in God. In this moment, recognizing this is the only moment. It is now. It's complete, whole, perfect. It's great. It is like, this is literally the moment that God is extending His love to me in its totality. This is the only place where I have to be. I dwell in God. I am in God. This is the only recognition, the only thing that I bring myself back to all the time. I don't have to be concerned about tomorrow. I don't have to be concerned about things that I'm not. Like, I'm not this thing. I'm not a citizen of planet Earth. I'm not what I thought I was at all. No. I'm right here, consciousness, present, whole-minded. There's one of us, oneness, direct connection with God, and it's given to us in this instant. It's given to you individually as your own experience in this instant. This is what you want to recognize. You see, that's not even a doing on your part at all. It's like, it is only a recognition. So let that be revealed to you. It is our practice. So this is, say, the preparation that we do before listening to Joel. And so Joel, we're going to listen to the first half hour of the tape. And like I said, Joel is really going for it to bring you into the practice of today.
Good evening. bringing God into our individual experience is an experience that must be consciously done. It is not something you can take for granted. It isn't something to which you can say, oh, or God is taking care of it. The bringing of God into our experience is something that must be consciously done. There does come a transitional period when you move over from living the human life and in which you are living the spiritual, in which you say, I live, yet not I, Christ liveth my life, and it's more or less true, shall we say, 90% of the time. And the other 10% you still have to make that conscious transition. But up until that point, we would be foolish to attempt anything without a conscious contact with God. And I will illustrate that in this way. If I were to get up here on this platform and start immediately talking to you, unless it was some very unusual circumstance, you would have every right to say, I wonder whether that's coming from God or from Joel. Or I wonder whether this is going to meet my need or not. Because the secret is this. It is first necessary that I consciously feel my contact with my source. We call it God, the Spirit within. I must first feel that. I just can't talk about it and say it and declare it, affirm it. I have to first feel it. But here's what happens. When I make that contact with my spiritual source, I am making my contact with your spiritual source. And so it is that the message comes out not only as a blessing to me, but as a blessing to you, because it is meeting your need. You yourself now are at one with me, and I'm at one with you. It's like the Master saying, I and the Father and me, and I and you and me. We're all one. Now, that relationship isn't really true until the moment of contact. Until that moment, we're just a room full of separate human beings, each with our own interests, each with our own purposes, each with our own needs. And we may not be fulfilling each other's needs at all. Whereas, you, by coming here of your own volition, or what seems to be your own volition, drawn by the Spirit, you, to some extent, are already making your contact with me. Or, at times, you may even be making your contact with God. But if I don't make mine, we are not one. Now, the same thing applies if, for instance, I were a salesman out selling merchandise. If I were to make my contact in the morning before I left home and had that direct feeling of the presence, I would automatically be spiritually at one with those who need what I have. And during the day, I would be led to them. Now, in proportion to my contact and to my continued ability to listen, would I be led to them without waste of time. I wouldn't make 10 calls to make one sale. As a matter of fact, in my experience, I have had the opportunity on 2 occasions of proving this principle, one in which I myself went out and did the selling, and proved that whereas in that field the salesmen were taught that the sales manager could always know how much work they were doing because there was one sale to an average of 20 calls. And if a salesman would conscientiously make 20 calls a day, they would make one sale a day. If they made 40 calls, their average would be 2 sales a day. And the average was so well established that the sales managers used that as their guide. Well, it didn't take me long to prove that one call resulted in 20 sales. Not 20 calls in one sale, but one call in 20 sales. Why? By making this contact, I was not only one with God, I was one with all spiritual being and idea, and usually when I made my call and made my sale, there were enough other recommendations out of that eventually to result in that. And then later, when I was in the practice, and in the early days of the Depression, a man selling some finance plan, who found that at that time nobody was able to buy finance plans, came to me, and he was able to prove the same thing, that whereas ordinarily 5 calls resulted in a sale, he reversed that and had one call resulting in 5 sales. And within less than a year, he was sales manager of that organization. Now, the point that I make is this. There is no circumstance in our life so small or insignificant, but what we can make it an important one by that conscious contact. If it were nothing more than going out and marketing, it would not only save time, but what is more important, it would establish you in the habit of making the contact so that when something more important came up, you wouldn't forget it. It may not be too important when you go marketing, whether your marketing cost $8 or $8.60. And it may not be important whether you got this cut of meat or that, or whether you got these vegetables or that. But the important thing would be that you would have one more link in your chain, because you will have learned never to make a move without that conscious oneness. In the same way, if you have a store, you may believe that you are limited to the customers of that neighborhood. But if you just know how many people have proven that they have customers all the way out in Africa and Asia and Australia, and just work out of their little neighborhood store or office. And you wonder how some can do that and how others can't even draw enough from the neighborhood to support them. And you watch that it is a miracle working thing. Once you realize this, your conscious oneness with God constitutes your oneness with all spiritual being and idea. That is the theme of the class book, Metaphysical Notes. The entire book is built on that one principle. Now, as you learn to establish yourself in this contact, you will literally prove that you're not living your life, that there is something that lives your life, that goes before you to make the crooked places straight. There is something that gives you a divine intuition, that gives you plenty of warning ahead of time so that you can avoid many of the troubles of life. And those that you don't avoid, it will quickly take you over. You see, you must come to the point in the living of the infinite way where you do not indulge these statements as affirmations or denials, cliches, quotations, but where they become living experiences. So that you don't say my conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea, because you'll soon learn that it doesn't do you any good to say it. Saying it doesn't make it so. Even believing it doesn't make it so. There must be the actual experience of being one, consciously one with God, in order to find yourself consciously one with all spiritual being and idea. It is the same in the use of quotations, Bible passages. You will notice that our writings are virtually built on Bible passages, and not for the purpose of using them, not for the purpose of saying them or writing them or thinking them, but for the purpose of living them, so that if in your morning meditation it comes to you, He performeth that which is given me to do, you don't use that as an affirmation, going around declaring it, hoping to make it come true, but you accept it within yourself as a living truth with the realization, oh, that is a fact. The He that is within me is greater than he that is in the world. The He that is within me performeth that which is given me to do. That very He which I've just experienced perfecteth that which concerneth me. So you see that declaring it with the mind won't make it so. Declaring it with the mind is not going to make your demonstration. But if you have that in your mind and sit with it, reflect on it, ponder it, until you feel that inner response with it, then you have actually demonstrated that there is a He within you, and that He within you is now on the job. It is for this reason that our prayer turns into less of thinking thoughts or declaring truths, except as a preparatory step, but our prayer is more the sense of awareness, the sense of receptivity, which enables us to sit back and say, all right, Father, now you give me my message. And when into you comes this divine impulse, either in the form of some statement of truth or quotation, or just in the form of a feeling of warmth or release, when that comes into you, you've had the actual experience of God contact. And it is that experience of God contact which lives your life. Up to that time, it is merely a statement in the mind, and a statement in the mind is far from demonstration. It is when the statement in the mind becomes a feeling in the heart that you can then know that you have hold of the hand of God, and the hand of God has hold of you. So please, above all things, make this practice. Certainly before leaving home in the morning. Before getting into the big activity of the day, make it a point to establish that contact. Now, it may well be, for those who have not yet perfected it, that in the beginning it will take time. It may be necessary to read some books for a few minutes, and then sit and meditate for a few minutes, and then read again and meditate again, ponder, declare some truth, meditate again. It may take an hour before you really get the feeling, well, it is done. And of course the question comes, where do I get that hour? And that is a matter for each one to determine for themselves whether or not attaining this Christ realization is worthwhile getting out of bed an hour ahead of time for, or 2 hours ahead, or whether it's more important to have that extra sleep. Each one determines that for themselves. But there is no one who can legitimately say that they do not have enough time, because everybody has 24 hours in the day, and while there may be demands on them for 12 of those hours, the other 12, they have the choice of whether they will sit at the television or radio or go to the movie or sleep or spend at least 2 of those hours trying to reach that feeling of oneness. Everything is determined by the degree either of our need, because surely, as you well know, that if you had a child very, very ill, you throw all of your work aside and all of your relatives and everything else, every demand that was made upon you, and you would just sit there until it were healed or saved. And you wouldn't allow anything else to come into your experience until that work was done. Well, this is of equal importance because you're not apt only to save your own child, you're apt to save a lot of other people's children before you get through with a life that's built on an actual God contact. And so it is that each one must determine to what extent they want this, because it isn't easy. The way is straight and narrow, few there be that enter. It isn't a simple thing to attain that inner contact. How well do I know that there have been many times when it took hours, just sitting reading my favorite books, scripture, inspirational books, turning again to meditation, reading again for a while, pondering some statement that I read, getting back into meditation, and sometimes not achieving it, and then having to try it again 3 or 4 hours later, then again at night. Each one determines that. But the principle remains this. A God contact is not merely a statement in the mind. It is an actual experience that takes place in the heart. It is an actual inner release from worldly fears or worldly cares. And it is followed by further spiritual light and then gradually by a change in body, purse, or other living conditions. Now, the prayer of demonstration, that is the prayer that really results in demonstration, is brought about by 2 important factors. One is, and the most important one, this very realization that I'm talking about. When you have this actual realization, you'll know and feel that God is on the field within you, that you're being divinely led or divinely protected or divinely instructed. You'll know that God is on the field in whatever the situation may be. But there is a point that helps to bring this realization to you more quickly than any other. And that is this. The longer you persist in believing that God heals or enriches or supplies or results in something, the longer you will be left outside of the realm of demonstration. You have to come to a place where you realize that God is not a power. God is a presence. We use the word power. I brought this out to you the other evening, that God is a power in the sense that God is the creative principle, and God is the power that maintains and sustains its creation. But God is not a power in the sense that, oh, if I could just contact God now, he would heal everybody here, or supply everybody, or protect everybody. God is not a power in that sense. God is a presence. But because God is a presence, and God is infinite, there is no other presence. And all sin, all disease, all death, and all lack disappears because of God's presence. So that you must be very careful when you're meditating not to believe that God's power is going to heal somebody, or God's power is going to result in supply, or God's power is going to result in somebody being employed. It isn't that way. It's this way. God is the health of thy countenance. So therefore, you don't get a God with a big power to move disease. You merely get God. When you have the realization of God, that God is the health of thy countenance. It doesn't establish health. It doesn't make for health. It is. God is health. And beside God, there is no other health. So there's no use ever trying to attain health. Try to attain God, and you'll find God is the health of your countenance. Now, it is the same way. God, in spite of all the teaching to the contrary, God does not give supply. And God does not send supply. And God does not bring about supply. You will learn in this work that God itself is the supply. So that when you have the feeling of God's presence, you have all the supply there is, and there isn't any other. The supply of God's presence is the only supply that you shall ever want. Because when you have that, you will find that all things are included in that. In other words, I'm saying to you, there is no such thing as God and supply. God itself is supply. So that when you have God, you have the infinity of supply. The same way, never believe that God is going to find a nice house for you to live in. Don't believe it. God is your household. God is your dwelling place. So you don't want a house, and you don't want a God to get you a house. All you want is God itself, and you will find that in having God, you have a dwelling place that to your friends and neighbors will appear to be a beautiful home, or a practical home, or a useful home, or a home rightly situated. But just go trying to find a home separate and apart from trying God, or try to find a home through God, and see how many centuries you'll wait for the demonstration. But give up the desire for the home or the house, and have the desire only to know God aright, and your house, your home will appear automatically, for God is thy dwelling place, and the only place you should want to live is in God. Live and move and have your being in God. And stop thinking about places and houses and cities and locations, and center on one thing. God is my dwelling place. And that's my only need, then, is not a dwelling place, but God. When I have God, I not only have the dwelling place, but I have all that's necessary to keep up the dwelling place, to furnish it, establish it, maintain it. In the same way, God does not provide us with bomb-proof shelters. God does not provide us with safety or security. And praying to God for those things is a complete waste of time. God itself is our high tower. God itself is our fortress. Therefore, pray for the realization of God. Pray for the realization of omnipresence. And you will find that even though you walk up and down the street without any physical protection, that your spiritual protection will guarantee that none of these evils will come nigh thy dwelling place. Why? How can it if your dwelling place is God? You see, it's when your dwelling place is some place other than God that accidents can happen to your dwelling place, in peace times or war times. But if If you are consciously dwelling in the secret place of the Most High, if you make God your abiding place, if you make God your high tower and your fortress, if you make God your supply, if you make God your health, then you have no need for dwelling places or fortresses or health or supply, because in having God realization, all these things are included in it because God is them. Now remember, God can't send health, God can't give supply, God can't give safety or security or protection, God can't even give wisdom. God is these. Therefore, with all thy getting, get God, and only God, and the realization of God's presence, and you will find that God interprets itself to us in terms of practical living. So that if we were with Elijah in the woods and there was no other way of being fed, we would find ravens bringing food to us, or we would wake up and find cakes being baked on the stones right in front of us. If we were with Rickenbacker out in a rubber boat in the Pacific, the birds would give themselves up to us, or the fish would jump up from the sea into the boat. If we were with Moses, manna would fall from the sky. In other words, none of these people ever concerned themselves with a demonstration of things. When the Master multiplied loaves and fishes, he did not multiply loaves and fishes. He looked up to heaven. In other words, he realized God's presence. He realized God's grace. And then automatically the loaves and fishes were multiplied. You don't multiply them, and Jesus doesn't multiply loaves and fishes. We realize God as omnipotence, omnipresence, and that realization translates itself into what we call practical language. If we need employment, it leads us to our employment. If we need a home, it leads us to what seems to be our home. If we need supply, it raises it up in one way or another. If we need friendships or family, or if we need somebody to perform something for us, it performs all of that for us.
Okay, till so far, Joel, in this talk, like we did the first 28 minutes of the talk. You can listen to this talk again, like you see the reference in the study guide too. And you see, Joel is pointing back at having the God experience, say, letting that be your practice, to come back to that, to stay with that, to open up to that, to have that as your one goal, in fact, as your, like above all else, I want that. Forget about the rest. First this. This is number one priority in the day. And I don't care how long it takes, but I want to experience that. I use Bible, I use books of Joel, I read some lines, I still am meditating on it. I'm letting myself be renewed by it, and letting myself be affected by all of this in order to come to the God experience. And see, it is like your perseverance in this is important. It doesn't need to be a struggle, and it doesn't need to be an endless session of sitting still or anything like that. That's not going to be productive as such. So it's like, don't force it. Don't put pressure on yourself that this needs to happen. Like, no, this will happen. You just relax into that. In fact, you try one more time. You just, okay, it doesn't seem to work right now. I'm full of resistance or whatever the experience is. I try it in 5 minutes, try it again. And here, suddenly there's something occurring or shifting. And there it is. It's like, this is coming to you. You only need to open up for it. There's no effort on your part, except just, in fact, not letting your mind run with every idea. Not even an idea of accomplishment in your stillness. So that's in fact the first lesson that we look at today. So the study guide can be helpful to take another look at what's being shared, to take a look at to listen to the rest of the video, and all this is like it's beautiful to use this just to get yourself into an atmosphere of receptivity where this is in fact occurring. So I want to thank you for your presence today. Now the thing that we do now is like till like it's another 8 minutes or so. I play some music and letting everything come to you. In fact, still with what is being shared. Like there was a lot of sharing. In fact, a lot of information, a lot of possibilities that are opening up to you. That you can easily be overwhelmed with it at a point, but it's like, okay, let's take some time to just be quiet together, to listen to some music, to let yourself be, becoming receptive. If you need to go, you need to go, of course. But so have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next episode of Key Lessons of the Infinite Way.